Greetings, Pima County. My name is Dustin Williams. I'm the elected Pima County School Superintendent, and I'm honored and delighted that you are here this evening for the show. My first big kudos goes to these amazing, brave, courageous kids, students, seniors, now young adults, that really told their story about COVID and what that was like for them. As the elected superintendent, you're always looking to support schools. And I was visiting Tucson High, Mr. Almquist's theater class. And I was involved in doing some mock drafts with him and basically performing some arts. It was really special, doing some improv. And afterwards, we talked to a group of students and we said, hey, we've got a great idea. Let's talk about what COVID was like and coming out of it and how exciting it was to be a student now. So we showed up to have a circle discussion that you're going to see later on. And it really went a different direction. It went into a different voice of the students. And what the adults and myself thought was, wow, we're out of COVID and life can begin again. But for these students, it was a different story. It was a story about what really happened through the lens of their eyes as a child and really part of the life that they lost. And we had no idea what we were about to hear from their vision and from actually their hearts. It was something that was very unique. It's probably one of the biggest projects and learning points for myself as an educator, a father, an elected official. To hear what they went through as 8th graders into high school and to hear the things that they missed. I think the most important part was during the sessions, they took a moment after we wiped many tears and had many laughs, and they just said they wanted to be heard. They wanted adults to actually just listen to their stories of what it was like. So enjoy this time. Let's support our youth by listening to them, and let's all make a change in education for the better by being united and making our young leaders feel like their voices are important. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome tonight to the Almquist Theater at Tucson High Magnet School. Thank you for joining us for tonight's production of the Class of 2024, presented to you by Arizona Public Media and Tucson High Magnet School. Please welcome to the stage the host of Arizona Spotlight on Arizona Public Media, Mark McLemore.
Hello, and thank you so much for coming out tonight. I am the host of Spotlight on AZPM. I've been doing it since 2007. I have a lot of speaking experience, but I'm not used to people being able to see me while I'm doing it. Just avert your eyes, and we'll be fine. Radio stations should really offer aftercare programs to people when they DJ. Anyway, thanks for being here tonight. We are having a reunion of sorts because all of the storytellers you are going to see tonight are graduates from Tucson High. They came back to tell their stories, and that's why it's called the Class of 2024. Their drama teacher, Art Almquist, made the decision to retire after 28 years of being here in this theater and this drama department. And he leaves behind a thriving drama department and a theater that's named after him, as you can tell. It was last summer during a scorching hot day. I was waiting for a Philly cheesesteak when my phone rang, and it was Art. And he told me that he had had a meeting with some of his most dedicated students, and the source of the meeting was about their generation was different from those who had gone before. I mean, not only had these kids grown up with active shooter drills in school from kindergarten on all the way through, but they started their high school career right when coronavirus hit. And so they had a really interesting and different story to tell, plus texturing in social media and the changes that occurred. Those of us who are like my age can't even imagine what it would be like to go through the high school experience with all of those extra layers of anxiety leveled on top of it. So tonight, I'm with you, and it's going to be harrowing. It's going to be heartfelt. So thank you all very much for being here. And now I'm going to introduce the real MC for tonight. Her name is Mel Blumenthal. If you had told her that she would be working in the world of finance when she was a drama student here, she would have laughed you out of the theater. But it turns out she is now a financial advisor and a planner for people. And she's here tonight with a lot of public speaking or storytelling experience. And she's going to be emceeing the event and introducing you to the students who are going to be sharing their stories. And I call them students, but they are graduates from high school. So anyway, here's Mel, and we're going to get things started. So. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of all of us involved in this very special show tonight, we can't thank you all enough for being here. My name is Mel Blumenthal. I will be your host and your guide this evening. As Mark said, yes, I used to sit right where you all are sitting here. I am a proud graduate of Tucson High, class of 97. Ooh. Oh, thank you. And the very first group of theater students who got to work with Art Almquist, who you will be hearing from later this evening, when he first arrived here at Tucson High to begin his teaching career. So this is a very full circle moment for me. This theater was my sanctuary, my refuge, my safe space. Aside from the day job and by night, for the past going on 13 years now, I've helped run a local storytelling organization here in town called FIST, Female Storytellers. Thank you. You've heard of us. So I know firsthand just how powerful this medium can be. Back in 2018, Art invited me back to Tucson High to start conducting storytelling workshops with the advanced theater students here. It takes a lot of bravery and a lot of courage to stand up on a stage, tell a true story about yourself, and speak your truth to power. You have got to be okay with being vulnerable. You have to feel supported, and you have to feel safe. I remember during the pandemic, a lot of adults that I was talking to would always say, this is so terrible for our young people for so many reasons. But for the ones who were safe at home, and that was not everybody, but for the ones who were, at least they were safe. You're going to be hearing some stories tonight that might challenge that notion of safety. I want to ask you all some questions, and please raise your hand, and I'm going to play along too. How many of you felt safe when you were at elementary school? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Safe in elementary school. Okay. How about in middle school, junior high? Raise your hand. Safe in junior high. Okay. How about high school? Raise your hand if you felt safe in high school. Okay.
We're old.
Exactly. How about at work? Safe at work, physically safe. I know, Excel can be harrowing, but physically safe at work. Okay, see some hands out there. So I don't know if you can see it, but none of the young people performing here tonight raised their hands to any of those questions. It's a different world. And that's exactly what I heard the first time I met this group of very brave, very talented individuals. A different world. The theater is always safe. Welcome to our world. And now, welcome to theirs. These are the voices of 2024. So, our first storyteller tonight is a unifier. He is caring. He has some rockin' braids going on, and he kicks butt at Fortnite. Please welcome to the stage, Jordan.
Oh, I wake up. Oh, but just to the sound of my alarm clock alerted me it's time to get ready for middle school. Ugh. Well, my typical routine consists of getting dressed, doing my hair, brushing my teeth, and etc. But little did I know, this would be the last time I would be doing this for the next 2 years. As I mentally prepare for the day to the sounds of chirping birds, gravel shuffling as I lock my house doors to walk to my last middle school bus I was about to ride for my 8th grade year. During the ride, social media users, or as we know them as kids, already tapped in on the latest news of this so-and-so alleged virus going around called Corona. The ride goes by, and I do my best to ignore what's being said of this virus, but I also couldn't help but think, well, what if it's true? The day goes, and I do my best to ignore my brain-rot thoughts and just focus on my education for once. But all of a sudden, my thoughts come back from the morning bus, and the overthinking and panic settles in. This hoax is really starting to crawl up my skin for some reason. But hey, guess what? I ignore it! As I continue to go through my day, and I wake up next to the finally fresh feeling of spring break. How exciting! I think of what I'll do with my friends, which is just play a lot of video games, of course. The break goes on till it gets to the last day before school starts again, until suddenly, we get a call from the middle school saying, we're getting an extra week off due to the spread of the virus till it goes down. I'm ecstatic, and to the point, I was almost grateful for this virus for giving us an extra week. I waste no time. I hop on the game, tell my friends to hop online so we can work towards that damn victory royale. And that fun week ends. And then we're told another week is being added. This could be more fun. Or will it? A month goes by of no school. We're in mid-April at this point, and something unusual was happening to me. I missed school. I missed my teachers and a learning environment. And now to replace that environment, we had an 8:05 a.m. login to Zoom on our personal or school devices to see our teachers and classmates through a screen. I started off my freshman year of high school through a screen and didn't learn anything but an insecurity of hiding my face when turning my camera on and worrying about the people in my household. My parents, who had just got married in February, could this break them up, all this COVID shopping and spending, and make their marriage risky? And my baby sis, who was born in October of 2019 and now has to face the pandemic at only 9-10 months old, the poor thing. And my tata, who we had to take great care of due to his age, and my mother, who's the youngest sibling in the family, now left with the burden to take care of her father, causing her to be a mother for her new baby girl and a caregiver. The pressure was too much for her, unfortunately, and had to force her to quit her job at Arizona Eye Consultants due to always taking him to his dialysis appointments and feeding him certain foods, as he is also a diabetic, while risking almost every day of contracting symptoms due to his compromised immune system as well. Now the money situation and the billing now being left to my dad, who has to get ready and leave for work at 2 a.m. and have to put food on the table for us and take care of our bills and insurance, etc. And he would come home every week with at least 55 plus hours put in and would just be worn out. Now I felt like a useless son with slipping grades, insecurities, and just overall depression. Every morning and day was the same repetitive routine. I was going insane. And to follow with all that, all I could ask myself was, will this ever end? Will I ever go back to school? Is this school now? Are my friends still my friends because I haven't seen them in a long time? As I would think about all the memories and experiences that were stripped from me at a young age that could have shaped me to be a better young man. But at this time, life was already downhill, and as a young teenager, all I could do was what us humans were good at: adapt.
Heavy burdens on young shoulders, but told so very well. Please give another round of applause for Jordan. Our next storyteller tonight, it was the best stage manager Tucson High ever saw, and Omquist's favorite. Please welcome to the stage, Lily.
I knew it was wrong. I should be doing schoolwork, but I couldn't. I can't focus, I can't concentrate, and I have no motivation to do anything. What was I doing? Well, I had made some new friends, and even though we met through an online famous streaming platform and I don't know what they look like, it's fine. I mean, we have fun, and it's nice. You know, we talk about games and movies and other things we're all interested in. And I mean, my best friend's 20 and I'm 14, but it's not weird. I promise. It's not like that. It was around the middle of the night, around 1:30 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep, which was normal due to everything going on. I mean, I should be in high school, enjoying it, having fun with my friends, but I'm not. I'm at home doing classes online that don't really teach me much. But hey, at least I was texting my best friend when all of a sudden he texts me. I'm in the mood. My heart drops to my stomach. I mean, what do I say to that? What do I do? I mean, but he's my best friend. He wouldn't do anything like that, would he? I dismiss all of it and I text him, well, take care of it? I say jokingly, of course. And he doesn't text back for a minute or two. And then he says, can I have a picture of you? I send one. I mean, it's not unnormal for us to send photos of our pets and funny photos we find online. So I didn't think much of it. It was just a selfie. It's not like it did anything wrong. He then says, you know what I'm gonna do with this, right? And it clicks, and my heart drops. I text him I'm uncomfortable immediately, and I don't text him for the rest of the night. And I'm just laying there in my bed, feeling so gross and disgusted with myself. He's my best friend. Why did he do that to me? Why me? I text him the next morning we shouldn't be friends, and I block him on everything. I can't tell this to anybody. I mean, how could I? He was 20, or at least that's what he told me, and I was 14. And that night, a part of me, in my innocence, had changed forever.
Challenging the notions of what it meant to be safe at home. Takes bravery to tell that story. She did it beautifully. Please give another round of applause for Lily. Our next storyteller tonight is a natural leader, and she puts kindness forward in everything she does. Please welcome Lynn.
was in my bed for a year. When quarantine begins, I'm 13, about to finish up middle school, when my spring break gets extended, and then extended. And then time just seems to stop. No more seeing friends, no more seeing family, no more leaving the house. And the only people I can see on a day-to-day basis are my parents and sister, and as much as I need them, I also need space. So I close my bedroom door. And as a social person, this isolation is unbelievably hard. I constantly text my friends about how strange this new reality is, but when I'm not talking to them, I'm alone with my thoughts. So I try my absolute hardest to fill my brain with things I know will bring me comfort, like the family vloggers I watched when I was 10, that book series I used to obsess over, and that TV show I watched religiously. However, I can't not hear my thoughts. I try to context people, to hold on to my friendships, but it doesn't really work. My world has become my room, no matter how hard my family tries to coax me out of it. Just a few months ago, I would have found it unimaginable that I would want to stay in my room. I mean, I love the outdoors. I love my friends. I love to sing. I love board games. I love my family, and I know all that. But none of that love seems powerful enough to get me out of bed. Graduate 8th grade on a Zoom call on a computer at my parents' desk. I press the red leave meeting button, and I'm done with middle school. It's the first day of my freshman year of high school. I'm dressed up from the shoulders up with fun earrings to show off my personality, because, it's not as if people could see my outfit in the hallway. But my day is full of join codes, pressing unmute to say, present, and then muting myself again and seeing about 8 people total with their camera on. After my first few classes, I realized I was one of the only few who had assumed we needed to keep our cameras on. So after that, mine stays off. As my freshman year progresses, I realized 3 things. 1, it's close to impossible for me to learn any of the material in this format of education. 2, there's no real way for me to forge any friendships in this format of education. And 3, without learning or friendship, I don't really see a point to school anymore. I feel more depressed, isolated, and anxious than I ever have. And no one's telling me how to cope with it all. So I do what many others do. I turn to the digital world, to any social platform I can get my hands on. But all that succeeds in doing is putting off my struggles momentarily, because as soon as my phone is off, I can hear my thoughts again. Thoughts that are telling me that I'm not good enough, that I'm a waste, that I shouldn't be alive. As my freshman year draws to a close, I start to see a therapist. It's not the cure-all I'd hoped it would be, because it's really hard to verbalize exactly what I've been feeling during this time, and it's even harder to explain to someone who's been an adult throughout the pandemic. Of course, they can imagine and they can sympathize, but they'll never truly understand what it is to feel your childhood naivete and innocence being stripped away from you, to be thrown into the deep end of reality without so much as a life vest, to fear for your own life, your friends' lives, your family's lives, all before you've had your first kiss. When my sophomore year begins, I make the decision to try hard at school. I felt robbed of my education, and I decided to reclaim it. I signed up for as many difficult classes as they would let me. I made friends as fast as I could and spent as much time with them as possible, because I knew I had missed out on so much of the high school experience. So all I wanted was to experience all of it right now. But I slowly started to realize how fundamentally altered quarantine had left me. I had an immensely difficult time keeping up in my classes. I could barely pay attention, and the majority of my assignments wound up turned in late. I had a hard time keeping conversations going with friends, and often felt out of my depth in basic social situations. And for the life of me, I couldn't understand why it all wasn't coming so easily to me. But now I do. So if you were to ask me, now that it's over, how do you reconcile with what you went through? I'd say I can never return to the girl that I was on March 12th, 2020. It's impossible for me to know what kind of person I would have been if we hadn't been put into quarantine the next day. But as I've grown up, I've made the decision to get out of bed every morning and accept who I am today, because I know the girl I was on March 12th, 2020, she wants me to.
And we are so impressed with the one young woman you are today, Lynn. Give another round of applause for Lynn. Our next storyteller is effortlessly courageous and incredibly brave. Please welcome to the stage, Kai.
Lynn was too short for this, so I got to make it as tall as I was. For the longest time, I was avoiding who I was. There was a boy inside me that wanted to be anything else. At the time, I just wanted to fit in with who I thought everyone wanted me to be. And being locked inside of my room for a year made me fear myself more than anything else. I tried everything to hide the person that I was inside. I stayed in my room and I talked to nobody. I still wore dresses. I kept my room the same. I still tried to keep on to any form of femininity that I could. I still let everyone refer to me as a girl, but I isolated myself so that no one could refer to me at all. One day, I tried convincing my mom that a short haircut would just because it's so hot outside. It's like almost in the hundreds. I can't have this long hair. So she takes me to my first salon visit. She sits me down and she tells the barber, she says, "Give her the pixie." I had that lopsided haircut for almost 4 years of my life because my mom didn't let me cut it any shorter, but I loved it. I did all of this just so that I could feel like myself, even a little bit. I have always known that being transgender publicly comes with a whole lifetime of torment from an unaccepting world. So, at the time, I was convinced that I had to hide myself. Especially during COVID, everyone around me became so hateful. It took years for me to accept that I wasn't a girl. I knew deep down that I was a boy, but there's some form of disappointment from the people around you that comes from fully transitioning from female to male. Like the people who knew you that when you were a kid and said, "You still look like that cute little girl that I held when you were a kid." So I tried to keep she, her in the list of the pronouns that people could call me. I did this until the sound of it made me physically sick. It wasn't until COVID had passed and I was able to surround myself with friends and teachers who knew me and accepted me as the person that I am, that I got the courage to tell my family. My mom takes me to my orthodontist visit, and since it's COVID and I don't have much interaction with people outside of my family, when I do, I make sure to tell them I go by Kai and I would like if you called me by he, him pronouns. And they usually do. And after my mom got me ice cream because it hurt really bad getting my braces tightened, she said, "So what are your pronouns?" Like she had looked it up beforehand to make sure that that was the correct phrase to say. I said, "I've been going by he, him for a while." She said, "Well, do you feel like a boy?" I said, "Yeah, Mom, I do." And then they got home and they had a discussion and told me that we'll support you during this phase in your life. It was better than nothing. And now my parents obviously realize that's no longer a phase. As for I'm a full-grown adult now. But I understand being 16 years old, going through a really hard pandemic can make people think that you don't know what you know. But today, I make a promise to myself that I will no longer pretend to be the person that other people want me to be, whether it's easier for them or it's just a force of habit because they've known me for so long. I'm just going to be me. There's a name that I was born with, but that person isn't me. Today, I stand as Malachi Kingman, and nothing can take that away from me.
And we're standing with you, Kai, a portrait in bravery and courage. Please give another round of applause for Kai. Our next storyteller tonight is strong, he is reliable, and he is the king of dependability. Please welcome to the stage, Luis.
If I'm not there, they're going to get sick. Early into the pandemic, my family found themselves technically homeless. We were kicked out of our house. I say technically because we still had family to fall back on. That's how we found ourselves living with my tia in a small trailer with 8 people living in it now. I'm 14 years old, a freshman in high school, and every day, all I feel is despair and crippling anxiety. Instead of being able to live out my first year of high school, I'm trapped inside, worried about the safety of 7 other people, especially my grandparents who were living with us at the time. To make my situation worse, the adults in my life weren't taking the situation seriously at all. They never wore their masks unless I begged them to, and once, one of them confided in me that they didn't believe the COVID thing was real at all and was a government conspiracy since they themselves hadn't gotten it. So, I'm sitting in a room trying to get the possible sickness and death of my entire family off my head by playing Minecraft, when my mom walks into the room and tells me that she wants us to take a vacation to a beach in Mexico, and that if I'm not going, they're going anyway. In my head, I'm thinking, this is one of the worst things you can do right now, but if I'm not there to keep them away from the crowds, they're going to get sick. A week later, I'm in a truck headed south. I'm in one of the most stressful situations of my life. I have to keep forcing my family to wear their masks, and it's clear that they're starting to resent me. All the while, I feel this heavy, crushing guilt that I'm out here on vacation eating good food under the sun, while everyone else I know is losing their minds slowly while trapped at home. When we finally arrive at the crowded beach, something I couldn't convince them not to do, I sit down under an umbrella, and I see my mom and my little brother running towards the waves. What's supposed to be a happy sight is just one that fills me with dread as I look around at the mob of people around us. When we finally get back home, all I can think about is if one of us brought the disease home. I pray that my grandparents don't catch it from us, that I was able to do a good enough job. Freshman year finally ends. News of a vaccine starts to come out, and this seems like some of the best news in a while. Except many in my family, most, outright refuse to get it, claiming it has mind control chips in it or other worse diseases, and they don't want to be sheep. As a 15-year-old, I have to go online and secretly set up an appointment myself. When my appointment date finally rolls around, I have to confess to my mom that I set an appointment and I need a ride from her. I've never seen more stubbornness and resentment in my mother's eyes than in that moment as she stared at me. She did take me, though. She waits outside in the car as I walk in and smile to get a shot, something that always scared me before. On the drive home, we don't talk to each other. I thought that maybe vaccines would be the end of this, but it just doesn't seem to stop. As sophomore year closes in, I find I'm the most depressed I've ever been in my life. I'm stressed out. I struggle to find reasons to keep myself going, and it seems like there's no end in sight.
It's amazing how so many young people were responsible for their families during this time. Please give another round of applause for Luis.
And now it's my special honor to introduce someone who's been helpful to all of us throughout all of this, helping us write and perform our stories, and has just been an amazing support to all of us. Give it up for Mel.
I have spent a large part of my life working with kids in crisis. For years, I worked at a children's behavioral health network, working with teens who were in state custody, or Child Protective Services, which then became the Department of Child Safety. I've seen some pretty awful cases of abuse and neglect. And because I was the only person on my team who did not have children, I was voluntold to be the one that handled the cases that involved human trafficking and sex trafficking. It was at this job that I learned about the nature of trauma and how it manifests in children and in teens. All of this to say, I had heard it all, and I had seen plenty. I am now 10 years removed from that world. And it's funny how fast you block certain things out. As you can imagine, when you work in child welfare, you see a lot of things that you don't really want to see. And you know a lot of things that you don't really want to know. It's funny how fast you forget, too. There's this phenomenon that happens with a lot of social workers called STS, or secondhand trauma syndrome. And it's where the constant, repeated exposure to traumatic events and your client's traumatic events causes a mental fatigue and the inability to retain information, even after you leave the job, due to the emotional and mental toll that the kind of work takes. It happened to me. I couldn't remember even basic events or small things about cases. I thought I was losing my mind until one of my good friends, who's a psychologist, explained what STS was and what was happening. My brain was literally protecting itself against traumatic memories. Once I knew what was happening, I knew I was going to be okay. Still, my experience and background in behavioral health came in very handy as I continued to work with teens and especially doing storytelling workshops. Coming into this project, I really didn't expect too much to be different. I knew the subject matter was going to be tough. The pandemic was hard. It was hard on all of us. It was especially hard on our young people. I really wasn't expecting too much to be different until they started telling their stories. This was different. This was very different. Something else started happening too. I started to remember. I'm standing there talking to them on the first day, and I ask them, so, y'all, what were active shooter drills like? I mean, what were they? When did they start doing them with you? Kindergarten? Kindergarten? Yeah. At my school, they would sound an alarm, and we would all have to run and hide under the teacher's desk, and you couldn't have any hands or legs or anything sticking out. Another teacher would walk by outside and tap on the window if they saw a hand or an arm, and they would say, "Bang, you're dead." That was in kindergarten? Yeah. Okay, that's age 6. Yeah, they did that at my school too in first grade. That's age 7. That's not good. Repeated exposure to traumatic events in childhood can cause significant developmental issues later on in life. You know this. You've seen this before. Okay, stop. Just listen to them. Another story. Yeah, at my school, they would sound an alarm, and everybody would have to run in from the halls as fast as they could, and the teachers would shut and lock the doors. Nobody could be out in the hallways. This one day, this girl got locked outside, and she was banging on the doors, begging to be let in. The teacher said anybody left out in the halls was dead. Jesus, how old were you? I don't know, maybe 5th grade? Okay, that's age 10. The timing of traumatic events in childhood can have significant consequences with PTSD exposure and neural underpinnings. Age 10 is major. Okay, stop. Just listen to them. Another story. Another active shooter drill. Emotional dysregulation, difficulty forming healthy relationships, all of this are consequences of this. Shh. No, just listen. Another story. They're relieved to be graduating from high school so they don't have to worry about getting shot. Some of them are anxious about going to college. It's just another campus, they say. It's just another opportunity to become a statistic. The 17 symptoms of CPTSD are, no, just listen. I don't want to know what I know. Another story. They don't like going anywhere alone. They feel safer being in pairs or in groups. I've always wondered why members of Gen Z like having their friends on FaceTime on the phones, even when they're alone in a room and not talking. I don't wonder about this anymore. Depression, the anxiety. People have the audacity to wonder why Gen Z has higher rates of anxiety. No, stop. Just listen to them. Another story. They're wondering about bullet wounds, gunshot wounds in their arm or in their leg. With these wounds, would they still be able to get to their friends or get to their siblings? Would they themselves be able to get out? Children strategizing exit planning with bullet wounds, like it's a war zone and not a school cafeteria. Their brains are literally being rewired. You know the long-term effects of this. You know what this is going to do. It's not just 8 of them. It's more like 8 million. How are you going to do this? There's no way to undo this. Just stop. Just listen to them. I don't want to know what I know. I thought I had heard it all. And I had seen plenty. I leave that meeting and I pull into my garage and I just sit there. I can't move. And I just start crying. And I can't stop for about 5 minutes straight. I call one of my friends who I used to work with at my old agency. She's a counselor who still works with teens and young adults. Emily, I say, I'm not okay. I tell her what I heard. I said, I didn't know. I didn't know how bad this was. I left a decade ago. But she knows. She sees it every day in her office with her patients. I said, what have we done? It's an entire generation. What have we done? What do we do now? She's so good at what she does. But with thoughts and prayers, all we can do is put a Band-Aid on an arterial wound. I don't want to know what I know. Thank you. So, the Emily in my story is very real. She's a dear friend of mine and still does work with teens and young adults. And she is here tonight, volunteering her time. She is over there in the lobby. She is exceptional at what she does. And if anybody needs to speak to her, please feel free to do so after the show. Yeah, we'll give her a round of applause. Our next storyteller tonight loves horror movies and can play not one, not two, but 4 different instruments. Please welcome to the stage the multi-talented Reyes.
Please give another round of applause for Mel, who supported us through this entire thing. Guy's too tall. I remember the sudden tension and sweat and malicious butterflies eating at my stomach when the text notification just says my name followed by ... I'm 11 years old. I was always a really shy and quiet kid. I would gain some friends, and then they'd move schools, and then I have to start from scratch. The bullies never helped, but at least they were a constant. By the 7th grade, I was basically friendless. My only somewhat friend, or frenemy more liked shoving me into things, punching, kicking, and hurling insults at me. Then all that changed. I was assigned a seat at a table of 4. It was me, my frenemy, my crush, and my crush's friend, M. My frenemy and my crush became the best of friends, and M became mine. I would talk to M about everything. My feelings for crush, how I didn't appreciate the bruises some friend gave me, how my family sucked because my parents took away my things when I misbehaved, and my siblings were annoying. You know, the typical 11-year-old business. Em in return would sympathize with me. She would comfort me and give me advice when needed. I always felt Em was wise for her age, and that was very prevalent in the way she was always able to make me feel better no matter what. Even when we goofed off, you could tell she was mature. I looked to Em for everything, seeing as she had an answer for, well, everything. I really appreciated Em for always being there for me. I made a promise to myself to always be there for her, no matter what. 8th grade came and everything changed. A friend of me moved schools, and unfortunately all my other friends were placed in the other class. All except for my crush. Because of this, me and my crush became the best of friends. We'd do every assignment and activity together and talked about every single thing we could. At this time, we also gained some more friends in our friend group. There was a sudden shift. I noticed my friends' mental health start declining. They started to spiral into a sort of dark and twisted tunnel. And by 3 months into the school year, I had talked around 4 of my friends out of killing themselves, including Em, my crush, and 2 of our new friends we made. Every day was the same. At school, I'd laugh and hang out and enjoy life with my friends. Then after school, I'd stay glued to Snapchat, trying to convince them not to end it all. Sometimes they'd leave me undelivered for hours. And for hours, I'd be sick to my stomach. I'd feel faint every time my phone buzzed. I remember how often I had to excuse myself from family time just to lock myself away in my room, trying to convince them not to do it. Worst of all, I remember the sudden tension and sweat and malicious butterflies eating at my stomach when the text notification just says my name followed by ... I remember there was people who would come by the school to talk about, if you know anyone struggling, tell us before it's too late. And my crush staring daggers at me, as if swearing me to secrecy all over again. I remember someone in my grade getting sent to the mental hospital. I remember sitting in class telling my friends to roll down their sleeves or their shorts because they told me to do so if I spotted their scars from cutting themselves. Most importantly, I remember the long night. Call the police, please! She's gonna kill herself! Please call the police! I run out of my locked room, eyes red and puffy from crying, sweating and hyperventilating like I had just ran a marathon. I run into the living room to my parents. I screamed and shouted at the top of my lungs, but they just stared at me confused. I tried to explain to them all that had been happening for the past year, and they were upset. But not at the fact that it seemed all my friends wanted to kill themselves, but at me for being so gullible as to believe they'd actually do it. They didn't understand. They hadn't seen or heard the things I had. I tried to explain it to them, but they didn't want to hear it anymore. My friends' lives were on my shoulders, and mine alone. Fuck adults for being so useless! I'll spare you all the gory details I, unfortunately, was not spared. But that night, I truly believed I saved 3 of my friends' lives. A week later, someone had snitched on Em to the school counselor. And after that, it seemed to me she was trying to end it all every 2 hours, even during school. Then COVID hit. Everything's online. No one is allowed to socially connect. I worry for Em like crazy. I mean, COVID took away practically all of her outlets, Snapchat being the only remaining one. Seeing her name on Zoom call made me feel a bit better. But then school ended and summer started. In the beginning of summer one night, Em was doing her whole routine. And there I was, trying to convince her not to do it. And then she texted me, "I already made up my mind. Goodbye." And then she did something she had never done before. She blocked me. Her last outlet, and she blocked me. I was spam texting everyone in this little cult we were basically in if anyone could get in touch with her. No one could. That night, I lost one of my closest friends.
Difficult insights into the mental health crisis happening with this generation, but wonderfully told. Please give it up for Reyes. Our next storyteller tonight is a very talented baker. She makes these amazing pumpkin squishy cookies. They are so good. People have been telling her she needs to go into business, so she has. Please welcome to the stage, Katya.
At least put it back down. I'm sitting in the Zoom waiting room. Remember those? Of my last class of the day, ready to disappoint yet another teacher. And this teacher is already disappointed in me since I won't turn in a project that was due a few days ago. He keeps nagging me to turn it in every time I attend, but what am I supposed to do? Tell him I can't focus because my mom is a mess due to my grandma's passing? No way. I'll just sit here and do nothing. Listen to what was happening around me and just watch and wait. Earlier today, in the worst class ever, English, I was just doing as I promised myself. Sit, wait, and listen. However, before class ended, my teacher held me back in the Zoom call. "What's going on? Why aren't you turning in your work?" I didn't want to tell him what was going on at home, nor did I have to, but I did. His response? "I'm sorry to hear that, but make sure you get your work in." Wow! Why did I think of that? Shucks, I really should just get my work in instead of worry about grieving my dead grandma. Not that he cares about my mental health or anything. It's fine. After that train wreck, though, it was time for my favorite class of the day, theater. This teacher was awesome. Unlike the others, he seemed genuinely interested in what was going on in our lives and what we had to say. At the beginning of every class, he would ask us how we were doing, and any good or bad news we would like to share. I didn't have to tell him what was going on, but I did. Privately, of course, I didn't want anyone else to care or worry about me. And what he had said had been the most comforting thing I had heard all day. I'm so sorry to hear that. You don't have to share that out loud to anyone if you don't want to. He was right. I didn't have to tell anyone anything, and so I didn't for the rest of the day. Almost at the end of the day. Just sit, wait, and listen through this last Zoom meeting and just shut down. My teacher starts talking, and once again, in front of everyone, "So, where's your project?" I didn't have to tell him anything. So I just stay silent. He then pulls me and another student into a breakout room. Remember those? He talks to the other student first, and I don't remember what, because I didn't care to listen. When he got to me, he starts talking about how he used to always be on top of my work and how he's worried about me. I didn't have to tell anyone anything. But I also couldn't, because this guy would just keep on talking! It's like he's taking back and forth to a wall. He then tells this wall, "You need to stop being a jackass and do your work." I simply grabbed my laptop screen and closed it. I had no idea what to do. I've never had a teacher call me something like that before. Was I a jackass? I mean, I didn't even cry when my dad told me the news my grandma had passed. Doesn't that make me a heartless jackass? He made it harder by continuing to call me that, as if it was my new name or who I was meant to be. It's my fault I didn't do the project. It's my fault I didn't cry. That's why he called me that. And he made it harder by continuing to call me a jackass when he saw me in summer school making up a credit. He just looked at me with disappointment, which was something I was used to by now. But there was something else. I could tell he wanted to laugh at me. I never did turn in that project, so I got a 0 for the assignment. But this guy also got $0 on his paycheck the next year for saying a slur a white man should never say to a black student. It's okay, he got fired. So tell me, who's the jackass now?
Woo! Testament to the power of the good teachers and the very not so good teachers. Give it up one more time for Katya. Our final two stories of the evening actually take place on the very same day. It's going to give you very good insight into what it means to both teach at and attend a public high school in this day and age. Our first storyteller in this series is someone who has been inspiring, shaping, and changing the lives of students all the way from the class of '97 to the class of 2024. Please give it up for the incomparable Art Almquist.
Thank you. Thank you. It's another day at the Magnet, I think to myself. The Magnet is the term of endearment that many of us have for Tucson High Magnet School, where I'm a drama teacher. I've parked in the south lot behind the school on the corner of Euclid and 8th Street, where you parked tonight. Oh, I've got a good parking place for a change, right near the red door to the vocational building. I've been teaching on this campus for almost 3 decades. That's a long time. But you know what? It doesn't feel that way. I am constantly amazed by the creativity and talent of my students, not to mention what amazing human beings they are. It really doesn't feel like I've been doing this for more than half of my life. Now, first period is my planning period, which means I don't have students, which means I've arrived a little bit after the bell. You see where this is headed. A lot after the bell. I'm locking my car when I hear the intercom. Beep. Attention, students and staff. The campus is going into hard lockdown. Now, for those of you who haven't been on a school campus in 20 years, a hard lockdown means that there is an active threat on campus or near campus. That could mean a lot of things, but for those of us who live and work on a school campus, students, staff, and teachers, it translates immediately to school shooter. The second we hear the school lockdown being called, everyone has to run as fast as they can to the nearest classroom or room of any kind, lock the doors, and sit quietly and frantically check their phones. Now, because I've arrived during first period, there's nobody else around when the lockdown is called. So I run as fast as I can to that red door of the vocational building. I scan my key card, red light. I scan it again, red light. Someone else approaches the door, a younger woman in a flowered dress. She looks like a sub. I try again and again. While I'm trying to navigate that, we hear the sound repeated. Beep. Attention, students and staff. The campus is in hard lockdown. My theater is the only place that I have a chance of getting us into. I tell the sub to follow me, and we make a run for it. The same path you took to get to this theater tonight. 200 yards straight towards the gym, where we can see 2 boys and 2 girls frantically trying to get in the doors, just like we were seconds before. Follow me, I tell them. We're going to my classroom. I'm trying to sound brave. I am an actor. They join us, and we turn towards the mall area. The huge, wide open mall area designed to house 3,500 students, and we've got to cross it. My mind reels. There could be a shooter on a roof. Behind that corner, coming around that corner, hiding in the bushes. If shots start getting fired, where do we take shelter? We've got 500 feet where we are sitting ducks. I think to myself, is this it? We run for the Ramada and the snack machines for shelter. We're halfway there. We turn towards the main building and run. 20 feet to go. 12 feet. 10 feet. 8 feet. 5. 3, up the stairs to the main building, through the main doors, down the steps into the theater lobby, turn the corner, and there in front of us are the most beautiful doors I've ever seen. The doors to the theater. Oh, I can't believe that we made it. We're here, everybody. We're safe, I tell them. And I let them all into the theater, and as I do, I look into my office, and I see that the lights are off like they were last night when I locked the doors, but my office is full of kids, packed full of kids. Some sitting on the floor against the wall, some standing against the wall, many holding each other, every face wrapped in fear. They look like children of World War II. I see that my student, Liz, the drama club president, is there, standing guard. She's a natural leader. She got them in somehow, but how? My file cabinet is pushed against the door to lock it. That's totally something Liz would do. I tell them all, get up everybody, come on, we're safe. They rise quickly and I let them into the theater and I turn and I lock the doors behind us. We are inside the theater and we are safe. I ask Liz, how did she do it? And she tells me she was outside when the lockdown was called. And she told everyone around her to follow her because the theater is safe. The theater is safe. She got everyone down to the lobby, found that I wasn't there, and checked my office, found it unlocked, and loaded everybody in and moved the file cabinet against the door. So I had forgotten to lock my office door last night of all nights. Oh, thank God. I introduce the kids to each other and myself to them. I am unfailingly polite. We run to our phones, where rumors are already beginning to fly. Shots were fired, ambulances on campus, police cars, blood. I text my wife, Amy, and tell her everything is going to be all right. I'm terrified. And yet, playing the role of brave teacher in the face of a crisis makes me believe it a little bit. I am an actor. The students rotate at this point between being on their phones, whispering to each other, and staring at the ground or straight ahead. Many sob. There's Rachel, one of my funniest students. On most days, her face is red from laughing so hard, but today, Her face is red because she cannot stop crying. Her friends and she are all standing against that wall, holding each other, trying to comfort her. And they're standing against that wall underneath all those pictures of students in this theater and plays in far happier times. And then we just wait and wait. Finally, what seems to be more accurate information comes across our phones. Gunshots were fired, but they were at the corner store across the street. An ambulance was called, but a girl had fainted in the nurse's office, and the ambulance was here for her. She was okay. The blood seemed to be just a rumor. There were no injuries. Physical ones, anyway. After what seems like an eternity, we hear the intercom again. Beep. Attention, students and staff. The lockdown is lifted. The campus is secure. Students, if you would like to speak to one of the counselors, they will be available for you. Teachers, please resume your normal instruction. Please resume your normal instruction. Please resume your normal instruction? Please resume your normal instruction! It's another day at the magnet. I've been teaching on this campus for almost 3 decades, more than half my life. That's a long time. And you know what? Suddenly, it feels that way.
Everybody, Art Almquist. Our final storyteller of the night, and the last in that series, is a multi-talented artist and one of those really annoying people who can pick up any art form and just be amazing at it. Please welcome to the stage, Mia.
I feel bad for the person who has to follow that guy. It's the perfect day. I just had some hot chocolate with my friends. The weather is just right. And the only classes on my schedule are the good classes. Theater because, duh. And biology because we basically do nothing in that class. Why don't I go out more? The world is so cool, so big, so beautiful. I'd even call it peaceful. I'm walking into the entrance right near the corner store and suddenly my heart drops. Before I even get the chance to ask what it was I heard, my friends turned to me. Gunshots. Monitors yell at every student they see, "Get inside," as they lock the gates behind us. Students run as fast as they can to the nearest possible entrance. I freeze. In the worst possible moment. I'm frozen. My friend grabs my arm and pulls me, and I black out. All of a sudden, we're in the nurse's office, which is now packed with students. I deal with panic attacks, so it's no surprise that suddenly I can't breathe. My mind starts to race. Is this it? Was this morning the last time I would ever see my family? It was my dad's day. I didn't get to say goodbye to my mom. My little sister. Will she be okay when I'm gone? My friends. I didn't get to spend time with my friends. Why didn't I? Oh my God. Did that girl just get shot? No. She just passed out. I look around the room. There's Lynn, the girl from my theater class. I always thought she was so cool. There's Jordan, my best friend since middle school. He's always so funny. There's the girl from the hallway. I don't know her name, but she always has the prettiest outfits on. I look at all these people I know, all with the same face, filled with fear. After what seems like forever, I hear the walkie-talkie from the monitor. Gunshots fired at the corner store near the entrance. The entrance I just came from. They announced that students can now go back to their classes, but all I hear is, do not go outside. What if the person with the gun heard the police and they got so scared that they ran into our school? What if they're so upset or angry and they take it out on us? The nurse's office is the first door you see when you walk through the doors. Does that mean we're first? I don't want to die. Does it hurt to die? It's funny. Growing up, they always tell you how scary it is to get your first period, to worry about blood stains on your clothes. They never tell you how scary it is to worry about blood stains from gunshot wounds. Finally, the door opens, and I see her. Mommy!
Day in the life of a public high school student, very different from my day. Please give another round of applause for beautiful stories told by others. The theater is always safe. This was my safe place when I was a student here. And I know that means something so very different to the students of today. Thank you for being a part of our world and for listening to what it is like in theirs. Please welcome back the voices of 2024.
She wanna say and let the words fall. Honestly, I wanna see you. She wanna say and let the words fall. Honestly, I wanna see you. Wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you. I wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. I wanna see you. Everybody's been scared.
So on behalf of AZPM and Arizona Spotlight and these members of the class of 2024, thank you very much for coming out tonight to hear their stories. If you or someone you know needs some mental health support, there are places to go. You can text 988, just 3 digits, and get in touch with the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Here in Tucson, NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, is standing by to help. And so it's important to remember that that is in our community. You can hear radio versions of these essays, as well as a couple of roundtable discussions where they reveal even more about what makes their class different from those who have come before and since. And please don't call them snowflakes. Thanks so much for being here tonight, everyone, and drive safe.